so we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me share my screen here. So the objective is to educate participants on the roles, responsibilities, qualifications, ethical standards, and regulatory compliance of a qualified mental health specialist, or QMHS, as it pertains to Ohio Administrative Code 5122-29-30. When you think about qualified mental health specialists, what comes to mind? What comes to mind in terms of, what comes to mind?
Somebody that's qualified to work with anyone with mental health disabilities.
Okay, yep. I want to get at least 3 more responses. QMHS, qualified mental health specialist. I'm gonna say Miss Joanne.
Someone that has taken a training to deal with those people, deal with those kind of disabilities.
Yep. Mr. Williams, what do you think?
I'm sorry, I'm not following her, but basically the same. You said what was a QMHS?
Yeah, when you hear the term qualified mental health specialist, like what comes to mind?
Someone that's certified to deal with anyone with mental health issues. Basically.
Okay.
To sum it up.
Yep. And last one, Miss Thompson. Miss Thompson, when you hear qualified mental health specialist, what comes to mind? What do you think of?
When I hear that, I just feel like it's someone who is ready to deal with someone who has a mental health, someone who's patient, as I said before.
Yeah.
For those who are going through some things, just ready for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, let's see. Let's go ahead and go through. Let's see what the Ohio Administrative Code says. So, roles and responsibilities of a QMHS. These are the duties and scope of practice. Provide services such as community psychiatric supportive treatment services, or CPST, and we'll talk a little bit about what that is later. Therapeutic behavioral services and mental health assessments under the supervision of a licensed mental health professional. That would be like our LSW. Implement individualized service plans. Has any of you heard of who's heard of an individualized service plan?
I have. I heard of a service plan. I worked with MRDD with adults.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Same thing. And so these service plans that we work under, it kind of talks about how you work with the client, what motivates the client, what triggers the client. Those are some things that we, what you look at, and then what the client is looking to accomplish, what his or her goals are. Okay. So these are some roles and responsibilities of a QMHS. Conduct client engagement, including implementing programming that develops rapport, assesses their needs, and promoting community integration. So when we talk about programming that develops rapport, what comes to mind? How would you, when we talk about developing rapport, what does that mean?
Building a relationship with the youth.
Yes, who said that?
Tashay.
So, building a relationship with the youth is essential, is because our kids, a lot of kids that we work with, they're relationship driven, and they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
I think we have a lot of teacher assistants in the class in this training. I think you've seen in the education field that kids won't learn until they know that you care about them. And once they know that you care about them, they'll just go to the nth degree for you. And so it is so important that we build rapport with those children. A lot of them, you guys probably know a lot of the children that will be participating in the programming. So you've already kind of developed that rapport, but also with their parents and their families. Because a lot of times the situations of the kids, if they have issues, angry outbursts, things like that, I mean, a lot of that can be stemmed back to the home. And I know some of you, especially some of you daycare owners, you've seen parents come in just wrong. That's where they are at that point. And so they have probably have issues that they have of their own. But and then also assessing their needs and having community integration. So that's the roles and responsibilities of a QMHS. Let me put this back up. Now, during this class, if you guys feel free, if you want to take notes, feel free to do that. What we'll do is we'll make available after the class also the meeting, the class overview. So you'll have notes to work from, and then it'll be pretty straightforward to complete your homework assignments. All right, let's keep going. Any questions so far under roles and responsibilities? Okay. So let's talk about community psychiatric support. All right, can you guys see my screen? Okay. So under community psychiatric supportive treatments, or CPST, again, ongoing assessments of the child's needs. What would be some examples of what a child needs? Give me some examples and write that in the chat too. What are some examples of needs of a child? And
say, you want us to write it in the chat? I'm sorry.
Well, you know what I'm thinking? I want you guys to talk. Let's talk about it. And then I will write them in the chat. So let's talk about what are some examples.
Someone to converse with.
Yeah, a safe place. You know, someone you can tell stuff to.
Safe place. Someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would say someone that's like nurturing as well.
Nurturing. What do you mean by nurturing? What does that mean?
Well, because you got some kids that come from a home where they don't receive that from like their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they may like act out because they're yearning for that like type of like feeling.
Love and belonging.
Yeah.
Love and belonging.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Good teamwork. Absolutely. Yeah. Love and belonging. I heard listening, positive communication.
Someone to accept them without judging them.
And trust.
Trust, yeah.
Someone that's patient with them.
Yes. Definitely. So as we look at that, and those are all good. So as we look at these assessment of the needs, you see some of those deficiencies, and it's really, yeah, it's pretty evident a lot of times. Assistance in achieving personal independence and managing basic needs. Now, as we're talking about kids, what are some basic needs that I don't know what, let's say we're dealing with elementary age kids, like 3rd grade through 8th grade. Well, I guess we also have some high school. We have some high school programming too. But what are some basic needs that they should be able to manage?
Coping skills.
That's good. Now, give me an example.
I would say how to manage your anger when someone makes you upset instead of blowing up.
Oh, that's good. Hold on. Manage your anger. You're on point with that. How to manage your anger without blowing up. Absolutely. And that would be probably good with all age groups. What do you guys think? Yeah. Okay. What else? Basic needs. What are some basic needs?
Communication.
Give me a little bit. Who said that? Was that Tashay?
No, it's Brie. I said communication.
Okay. Give me an example. What do you mean when you say communication?
For example, if something's bothering them, or we're not mind readers, so they got to be able to verbally tell us what's going on, if it's something going on, or
Yeah, you mind if I add to that, Bree? If I may?
Yeah.
While you guys aren't mind readers, you are body language readers, and you are because some of these kids, and I would imagine even in your working with kids and your experience, you've seen a kid come in your classroom or your after school program, and you could just already look at them and tell there's something going on with them.
Yeah,
Just by their body language. They sit at, when, you know, they may sit down and just, what's wrong, Johnny? Nothing.
right. Yeah.
Being able to kind of work through that. Because being able to manage those feelings is very, very important. So yeah. Anybody else with managing basic needs? What are some other basic needs?
Hygiene.
Personal
care.
Yeah. Yeah.
School related things too.
So
Educational needs.
Say cooking and money management.
Hygiene.
Personal, everyday living skills, just like learning how to take care of themselves.
Who said personal? Who said I bet you that was Mr. Lee, right? That said personal money management.
Yes, sir.
And manners.
Who's manners?
I was gonna say respect.
Janaya, I said manners.
Respect.
Social skills, problem solving.
Social skills, problem solving.
I feel like that thing
Sometimes they need
the
help
stuff with the base.
identifying their triggers too. Sometimes they don't know.
That's that self-awareness.
Hiding triggers.
I feel like the stuff that we said with the basic life skills, it definitely has to do with the high school students, just because off the strength of, you know, younger folks, they may not understand.
And also for the high school students, I would say goal setting.
Goal setting.
Definitely goal setting and responsibilities.
I want to just reiterate too that it needs to be age appropriate, because a lot of our kids are doing things that are not age appropriate.
You want to give us an example, Mrs. Murray?
When you have a 12-year-old watching all their siblings at the home, and people having expectations of them, and then it's just, you know, they're not a mom, so those expectations are inappropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not a mom or a dad even. There's boys that do it too. They put everything on their shoulders, like they feel like they have to carry the family, and then they may have outbursts, or they may act out on anger and just, you know, other things that are going on. That's why I just want to make sure that we let kids be kids too, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So under coordination of individualized, so the other activity under CPST is coordinating with their service plan or treatment plan, which is what it'll be called in our area. It'll be the treatment plan. And this involves, you know, linking to formal community services and systems. So an example of this would be linking if you realize that the child has a need maybe for food benefits, being able to link them with that system. If a kid needs, you know, if they come to you hungry, maybe linking them with food banks in the area. Can anybody else think of any other formal community services and systems that we would link kids to? Whether elementary, transportation, okay.
Uniforms.
Clothing.
Showing them how to sign up for college, FAFSAs. That's a big thing. Kids don't know how to do financial aid stuff and things like that to get the assistance for college.
Right.
Yep. Hey guys, churches are really, really good for that, especially in the summertime. They help out very much.
Yep. Now, and again, as a QMHS, you would have, I mean, for us old school folks, I have a notebook, a journal, and you write down those connections, those community connections, because if you need it once, you're gonna need it 5 times, right? And it's nothing like being able to call a church or a food bank or someone in JFS, which is Job and Family Services, say, hey, this is Bree from Buddy Builders. I'm calling on behalf of a parent. She's going to be calling you, or you even have her on the 3-way, and to be able to link them to those services because they know you. Absolutely. Also, that's a big deal. Go ahead. I'm
Also,
sorry.
don't be surprised at how many families are unaware of the resources in their community that are very close to them at the churches and the, like the kids with the meals for the summer. So yes, there's a lot of programs out there that the grants go unused because they don't have enough participation.
So one of the things we want to do is, as an action item, is to build a community service system directory. Now, I would say that probably in Columbus, does anyone know of, there's already an existing community service directory in Columbus. Does anybody know about that? So your
Is it
group assignment,
211?
you 211, but yes, and there's also Ms. Corletha, a written one as well. I don't know exactly where it is in Columbus, but I think as a class, that will be one of your assignments for next week, is to find where that written or PDF electronic community service directory is. Okay. So let me put here, that's assignment. Assignment. Find the Columbus Community Services directory. Because again, as a QMHS, part of our job in these connections is to do case management work for our families and our clients. Okay. So again, just once you find that document, download it, put it on your phone, print out a hard copy, keep it at the location just so you guys will have access to it. Okay, let me go back here to anybody else on community services and systems that we would link our families and kids to. We said transportation, uniforms, FAFSA, churches.
Did we say medical services?
We did not.
And educational services.
Such as?
If the kid is showing signs of dyslexia or ADHD.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Working with somebody that can get them assessed.
Yes.
So what that would look like too in the school system, because all the kids are in a part of the school system, is then working with that parent and saying that they need to do a multi-factor evaluation for that student, or an evaluation to address see if they even the symptoms of dyslexia, see if they have that. If in the school setting, if you bring it to their attention, they have to do something about it. They can't just overlook it. So that's great. Absolutely. And even when you talk about medical services, that could even be vision and dental as well. Yeah. Any other community services? I think we covered a lot. What about pregnancy? What about, I guess that would be under medical, right? Pregnancy services. Okay, that's good. Let me go ahead so assisting with access to natural support systems. We talk about natural support systems. What are some natural support systems?
Ourselves, family.
Family, yep.
The Boys and Girls Club.
Yep.
After school programs like at the Y or the rec center or anything like that.
Absolutely. You all as QMHSs in training. By that time, you'll be QMHSs. You guys are support systems. Yep. We talked about it before.
Babysitters.
Child care.
Yep, child care.
Mm-hmm. And then you guys said it before, churches could be good support systems, looking at their community outreach. Absolutely. And again, you would go back to your community program, your community outreach and services binder, community outreach services directory. Yeah, that's good. And then you monitor systems. Again, these are key activities under CPST, which is Community Psychiatric Supportive Treatment. You monitor their symptoms, coordination and assistance in crisis management and stabilization. So if they're having a crisis, we should know who to call. We should know who to direct them to. Most of those, I think somebody said 211, 911. What's some other crisis management systems that we could link them to?
Medicare.
Medicare.
Suicide prevention line.
Yeah,
Yes.
411.
98888.
Crisis care. Is it crisis care still available to you here today?
It's available, but it's called something else.
Netcare Access comes. They got the van.
What's it called? What's it called?
Netcare Access. They're like for emergency, emergency situations.
Mm-hmm. Suicide prevention hotline.
Recovery.
Houses and
recovery.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. You're fine.
And don't forget about
like the Alvis houses.
A mother might need the battered women's shelter.
All right. Ms. Thompson, what were you going to say?
I was just saying the Alvis houses in like Mary Haven, the recovery homes.
Okay, gotcha. Recovery homes. Yep.
Women's shelters is one that Toya has said too. Oh, yeah, you got it on there. Yep.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And then advocacy. Now, what is advocacy? What's advocacy? One of our primary jobs is to advocate for our clients.
Sounds like be
Having
there
a voice
or
for
support.
them.
Support. Somebody who said having a voice for them.
Tashay.
Brittany. Both. Bullseye. Keep going.
To
What else?
add on to that, I was gonna say being dang, I don't even I'm sorry.
Being
I was trying to say
giving that verbal support that they don't know how to give, like they don't know how to say, standing up for them.
Mm-hmm.
Providing a listening ear.
I say to get them connected with the services that they need, whatever those are.
Okay. What else? Advocacy. Let me see. We got you guys. You talked about being there for them, speaking up for them, standing up for them, listening ear, getting them connected to the services they need. There's one other thing about advocacy I want to talk a little bit about with you all is what about self-advocacy?
Maybe teaching them how to stand up for themselves and be a voice for themselves. Like that way, when they get older, they can actually put what we taught them into use.
Yes. Yep. Now, this self-advocacy and even the advocacy doesn't stop at just say we're working with high school kids. It doesn't always stop with the kids. It also could extend to the parents. So, and part of teaching self-advocacy, being able to speak up for yourself and not let people paint you into a corner, right, is being able to control your emotions. Because I'm just going to use Brittany as an example because I can just see her face. If Brittany goes off on me as a intake person, do you think I'm gonna give Brittany the easy way to go to get her the services she needs?
No,
not at all. And I don't and that's not right for the service provider. And hopefully they have training like we're going through to say, you know what, these parents, they go through a lot. And guess what? Some of them, I'm not going to justify it, but I can certainly understand why they have hair trigger tempers. Miss Corlita, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you're a child care owner. Have you talked to us about some of the
No, sir, I'm not. I drive a school bus, but I was a former juvenile correction officer, but I don't.
Okay. What? No, that's Miss Toya. right? The daycare owner, Miss Toya. Is
Yes,
she still on?
that was Miss Toya. Yep.
I think I
I'm
don't see.
sorry, y'all. I was snacking.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm daycare owner.
So, Miss Toya, talk. Okay, so I don't really hate to put you on the spot, but because I just know that you have some experience and some skill sets that sharing with everyone will be beneficial in terms of the needs of our parents. Could you talk to us about maybe a situation without naming names of a parent that you're looking at the kids' needs, but you see the parent and the parent just, I mean, they have needs themselves and just come at you wrong,
That's what
wrong,
they
wrong,
do. They
wrong.
blame when they got stuff going on. They was talking about personal care. We have a lot of those issues. You really don't know how to say anything to the parent, but then when you do say something to the parent, they they get upset.
Yeah, they're very
They they
easy.
they they get upset. They automatically, it's never their fault. They always blaming somebody else.
And that means so. And in our clinical terms, what word is that? Begins with a T and ends in a D. Second letter R, third letter I, fourth letter G, fifth
Trigger.
letter G. That's their trigger. They're easily triggered. Easily triggered.
Mm-hmm.
Easily triggered. Yep, you got it, Autumn. Triggered. And so, but it comes with, and that's where somebody talked about. That's where our patients, as clinicians, because that's what we're going to be, clinicians, right? That's where our patients as clinicians come in. Because if I match their intensity, if they're on 7 and I come at them at a 6.5, it's a problem because it's going to do
Mm-hmm.
nothing but escalate. So understanding that and being able to, the Bible says a soft answer turns away wrath. And clinically speaking, a soft answer turns away wrath. And so we have to fight our emotions because I would almost say that let me see here. Jasmine, if somebody came at you crazy just naturally, what's your if somebody came at you crazy, what's your natural response? Or Shay or
Well,
Janaya
my
or
my
go ahead.
my natural response, because this recently just happened to me, would be to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kind of processed it and realized it's not even that serious, like pretty quick.
That right there. But it's a natural action to want to defend yourself.
Yeah.
But in the clinical world, it doesn't work because what we're trying to do is de-escalate, diffuse, so we
Mm-hmm.
can teach them, the
To
client,
do the same.
exactly. Exactly. That's what we're looking to
I
do.
I was just about to say it just definitely depends on who it is, and we're talking about kids in this situation. So you definitely got
Yes.
to be the adult in the situation, and definitely
Yes.
down to a child's level. And
Yeah.
you got to be the leader in the situation and show them like, hey, it's not that serious. Like, chill out. Everything's okay. Like, it's just
Now,
else
you,
going on. Start
yep, absolutely.
see why they acting the way they are.
Why? Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing about, people always ask, why do people act that way? Why do they act? Why does she act that way? Why does he act that way? It's because of trauma. Why do I have a 27-year-old woman acting throwing a temper tantrum like a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old? Well, because guess what? She had trauma. Something traumatic happened in her life at 8, and guess where she is? Guess where she is mentally, maturity wise. Guess where she is?
At 8.
She's at 8. Wherever that trauma happened, she's at 8 in that area. And quiet as kept. Some of us, all of us have had experiences where, man, let me back up. Let me say this. A lot of what we're going to be learning is also good for us. We are first partakers of it. Okay. Because we have to understand too, because we ourselves have triggers. We ourselves have trauma. And so, but what we're going to be able to do is become mindful of it and give some coping skills to be able to deal with it where we don't have to fly off the handle and hurt and ruin relationships or damage relationships by our overreaction. Because here's what it is. It's an overreaction to something simple. I say, hey, how you doing, Miss Corlita? You know what? I'm just saying this because I can see you. I like those nice hoop earrings. What you mean about my hoop earrings? Now I'm thinking to myself, what's going on with Corlita? I just said I like their earrings. Well, guess what? Miss Corlita, I don't know, had an issue. Somebody pulled her earring out her ear when she was a younger kid, and that just really got to her. I don't know if that's a good example, but anybody give me a better example than that? Where we've seen people overreact to be triggered. Give me any examples of that.
I just want to say that hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And it's not always the person, it's pretty much is the person who's receiving the hurt. It's not the person who's really the cause. So when our kids are acting out or our families, it's other things that are going on. And if we can just, be a listening ear, more a helping hand, a loving heart when they're speaking to us, we probably can really support them instead of judge them.
Yeah. I would probably say, I don't know, and if I'm wrong, y'all let me know. I think the toughest thing that we have is when, and we're talking about the parents a little bit now of the families, because we can't separate the families from the clients, which are children. You're gonna have to deal with the clients and their parents at some point, but we just have to learn how to continually to just de-escalate in our own self in terms of how we react to their actions and behaviors. Let's go back here. So educate. Okay, so we talked about advocacy and outreach, and we already mentioned about outreach, connecting with services. We know what our assignment is in terms of finding that Columbus Community Outreach Directory. Education and training specific to the individual's assessed needs. So what's going to happen? I think we're going to be down there in Columbus tomorrow doing registration for the parents, and so part of it, we're going to be doing an assessment, going through asking questions, and we're going to find out from those assessments what are some of the needs that they have, right? What are some of the child's assessed needs that they have, and then we're going to develop a treatment plan or a service plan based on the needs of that child. The last thing under CPST is mental health interventions, addressing the symptoms and behaviors to remove barriers to education and employment. Mental health intervention. Somebody mentioned coping skills. That is an example of a mental health intervention. Can somebody give me another example of a mental health intervention? So again, let's say a child.
A de-escalation plan.
Ooh, who said that?
Tashay.
That's good. Did you, Mr. Shea, did you say you worked in the school district?
No, I work for residentials and group homes.
Okay, that's right. Okay, because I was listening to your language. I'm like, yes, you've done this before.
Yes, sir.
De-escalation plan. Anybody else? Mental health intervention.
The assessments that they take when they signing up through, yeah.
Yep. Anybody else? Give me an example of a mental health intervention. And somebody said it already today. Begins with a C.
Individual therapy.
Individual therapy is a intervention.
Community support.
Community support is a intervention. But it was two words. First one is a C. Starts with the C. The second letter O. Third letter
Coping
P.
skills.
Coping skills. Give me the who said that?
Sierra.
Sierra. Give me an example of a coping skill, Sierra.
Managing your anger, like
4 deep breaths.
You said
4 deep breaths. That's 4 deep breaths.
Okay.
Get angry. That's good for us. Okay, so real quick, we're gonna take a 5-second break. Everybody turn the cameras on real quick. We're gonna do a quick little intervention here. Need to see everybody's camera on. Now, if you can, just get to a place where you can, where you can sit down, where you can just kind of be stationary. And what I'd like you to do, we're gonna take 4 deep breaths. This is one of the coping skills that we can work with our clients with. Okay. So we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to breathe in on a 3 count, maybe 4 count. Hold it, and then breathe out. Count of 8. Breathe in, count of 4. 1, 3, 4. Out, count of 8. If you want to close your eyes, feel free. Breathe in, count of 4. Hold it, exhale. Breathe in, count of 4. Hold it, exhale. Okay, good, good. Those of you that did that, how do you feel?
Relax.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Sarah,
I
how do
feel
you?
great.
Mm-hmm. Go
Um,
ahead. Anybody else? Tasha, Tashay?
calm,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
mellow, like
I'm
Yep.
calm.
Yep. That was that Sarah.
Yeah.
So relax. Thanks, Autumn. So understand, like, the reason, well, let's talk about the physiology behind it, right? Is because you're getting oxygen to your brain, right? And then you're letting all of that carbon dioxide, all that bad stuff out. And if some of you are really like sitting, and you would probably feel like your body's starting to relax. By show of hands, how many this morning just left out like pure on, got to get to work, got to get through, boom, I'm out? How many people? By show of hands. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would 8. I would just say this. 9. Yep, 9. Try to do that before you leave the house. And maybe instead of taking 4 deep breaths, maybe make it 10. Seriously, before you leave the house. I mean, so that means if you have to get up 10 minutes earlier, please do that. And because as you do these exercises, you'll see how much calmer you are in starting your day and how much clearer you can think. Now, for some of those, for those of you who have a spiritual component, get up, take that time, thank God for waking you up, putting breath in your body, turn on some soft music or not. You can be quiet, but get somewhere and start your day off with 10 minutes of quiet. And then once you do that, you'll be able to train others, your clients, to be able to do that. And just, that calming feeling that you felt, you've taught them a coping skill, right? Has anybody's teacher ever said, ask 3 before me? You ever heard of that? Ask 3 before me? So that's a concept that they use in education, where it builds the child's capacity to work with other people before they go to the teacher to get the answer to the question. So again, these are some of the examples of coping skills and mental health interventions. And what we do as an agency to support you all as clinicians is we will give you lesson plans that are clinically based, best practices. It's called CBT, cognitive based therapy. Miss Murray or Miss Toy, do you want to talk a little bit about that? What that might look like as they're doing groups, how we support them?
So basically, we'll give you CBT curriculum activities, and it just kind of, we want to help you all to write your notes, because again, we are working with our kids, so we may see that evidence-based needs that they may have, which may be like, for example, a child is having difficulty with math at school. But it really, if you're helping them with math, and I use fractions, for example, if we're helping them with fractions, and it's really hard for us to put that into our notes, our clinical notes. So what we do is we give you lessons for the day. So it'd be maybe music therapy or art therapy. And then, if you want to go into, fractions, like, okay, you're serving a pizza or however you just breaking things in down, you probably may talk about math and things like that. But so that's why we just kind of give you a calendar with daily activities, for example, like art therapy. Maybe like today we had like a picture of a jar with these little rolled up pieces of paper in there, and it was maybe something on there like talk about things that you're grateful for on every picture in there in a jar, right? Something that they're grateful for. And this is one of the things that's so when a child is diagnosed with um anger or a child is oppositional defiant, this activity will go across all the kids in your group. So you're not having to pick a specific one. Now you will do individual based things with them, but this one we're just trying to get you all to use therapeutic activities for your clinical notes is what we're saying. So we give you the ideas of what to use, and we're not saying you have to stay there with that, but it'll just give you some supports.
Yeah.
And they'll be in your drive. The lessons will be in your drive. We'll send them to you. We'll show you pictures of them. We talk about them. One of the kids, the groups, they came up with emotional charades with the kids, and they did musical chairs. Once you sat in a chair, you had to have an emotion. You had to think of them. Those are just some of that they talked to me about today, by the way.
Yeah. So that's good. Good. Thank you for that, Mrs. Murray. Okay, so roles, responsibilities. We talked about CPST, therapeutic behavioral services, mental health assessments, implement client engagement, including developing rapport, offer supportive services, and including daily living skills, psychoeducation, assisting with housing and employment needs. So the limits of our practice, QMHS may not diagnose or treat mental health disorders independently and must work under supervision. So let me share my screen here, I'm sorry. So yeah, QMHS may not diagnose or treat mental health disorders independently. So what that would look like is you all would be having working with an LSW weekly to provide, if something happens like, hey, I had a kid that came in and we just they were just very angry and always they had an explosive temper, and I tried to do the breathe in, and that technique didn't work. Well, what that LSW or that clinician could do would give you a couple of other interventions or coping skills to use for that child as an example. So you will not be working independently when it comes to clinical type things. I know a lot of you have experience in programming, so you will still be doing the programming part of it. But as you notice some behaviors that are coming up that you may not know how to work with that child on, that's what those weekly supervisions are for with the LSW, to give you guys some tips and pointers and coaching points on how to work with that. QMHS cannot prescribe medication or engage in any practice reserved for licensed professionals. We'll do that. Okay. All right.